Private Robert came to the church to light a candle, because very soon he will be sent to war. At the entrance, he meets a girl, Vera, whom he immediately liked. He asked for permission to write letters to her, to which Vera agreed. Lieutenant Colonel Puller reports that Japan has launched multiple attacks. They will be confronted by their unit. Everyone gets a little rest and joins the war after Christmas. On August 7, 1942, the U.S. Army approached the Solomon Islands. Before disembarking, all Marines are given the highest quality food. The captain gives his unit a short tour, after which the assault begins with air support. A huge number of amphibious boats release fighters. Robert thought that the Japanese were already waiting for them, but in reality there were other U.S. units that arrived before them. While there is free time, Sergeant Yo is trying to deal with the coconut. The doctor warns that the Japanese could have poisoned the coconuts. The news came that the Japanese were hiding nearby in the jungle. An order was given to clear the area. First of all, they found an abandoned camp, and since there is no enemy here, they will have to go deeper. Each of them went to war for the first time, and in the dead of night, they confused the enemy with an ally, thereby reducing the number of the squad. Other units captured the airports that night. They thought victory was near, but at night the Japanese launched a counterattack, destroying many ships. The U.S. command decided to sail, leaving everyone on the island without support. The captain orders them to dig deep, otherwise the Japanese will destroy them in just one attack. After a while, the Japanese fleet sails across the island. There is a bay 16 kilometers from here. Most likely they are moving there. That night, the first shooting battle took place. There were countless enemies, and I had to use absolutely all the weapons. When the fighting subsided, the medics noticed the wounded fighter and tried to help him, which was a big mistake because it was a trap. A book is found in the bag of one of the soldiers, Robert. It contained a photo of his family and a child's toy, and in his spare time, he writes letters to Vera, describing their war. Only a week later, reinforcements from the 7th Detachment under the leadership of Colonel Puller arrived on the island. They were supposed to clear the forests, and already on the first task they are ambushed. Because of the thick foliage, you have to shoot at random, wasting a small amount of ammunition as it is. Upon returning to the camp, Puller reports that the command does not want to lose this island, which is why they are sending additional infantry. In the first air attack, the infantry fled in fear. John says that only the Marines know that Japanese planes are not bombing the coast. But the airfield, now is a great time to take some of the infantry supplies for yourself. As soon as they were spotted by a regimental patrol, the Marines fled. The Japanese quickly received information about the concentration of enemy forces and launched a massive bombardment, destroying the entire camp. The command believes that this was a preparation before the attack on the airfield. If their plan succeeds, they will be completely cut off from support. All those who survive will have to hide in the jungle and start a guerrilla war. To prevent this, they will strengthen the third sector. The guesses were correct. In the late afternoon, the Japanese appeared, but now they were trapped. After the first attack, exactly half of the bullets remain, and the enemy is still moving forward. Some Japanese even managed to break into the dugouts by launching a bayonet attack. Only in the morning did the battle end. For the excellent execution of the order, Puller will award John a medal. But he doesn't have time for a medal right now. He doesn't see his friend among the soldiers. After examining the surroundings, he finds the eliminated Manny. Their strength has come to an end, which is why they are allowed to go on vacation. On the ship, the cook asks what was happening on the island, but none of them knows what to tell them. But the guy says they've become real heroes. They're in all the papers. Australia, January 43. The Marines arrive in Melbourne, where they are greeted by local residents. The soldiers are clearly amazed by such a meeting. Everyone is assigned to stadiums. The first thing Jape and John do is say goodbye to Manny. Not everyone in Australia likes Americans. On this basis, there are skirmishes between them. His friend apologizes for this behavior and asks the bartender to pour them a drink at his expense. At this time, Robert meets Stella and takes her address. The next day, John is awarded the Medal of Honor. After the award ceremony, Robert came to Stella, where he was greeted by her family. They offered to let him stay with them, but Robert didn't want to be in debt. The man does not see this as a problem. He can help to remove the roof, and at night he spends time with Stella. But this could not last forever. The command sent soldiers for training. They need to walk 160 kilometers and return to the city. For everything about all 3 days. On the first day, Robert's legs were injured, but this did not prevent him from completing the march. Stella thought it over and decided to leave Robert, Even though she is very much in love with him, she understands that he is unlikely to return, and then he will upset not only her, but also her mother. Because of such news, he gets very drunk and argues with the lieutenant in a rude way. Zeta is punished by returning to a combat regiment, and John is sent to the United States to participate in a campaign to sell war bonds. The island of New Britain, December 43. There are no Japanese here yet, but everyone understands that they will appear soon. While patrolling the forest, Robert stumbles upon the Japanese and instantly eliminates them. To prevent the enemy from finding out where their camp is, the patrol returns along the river. But this did not help. Already at night, the whole forest was teeming with Japanese. The Marines open fire. Robert should be sitting in the intelligence tent. If the enemy breaks through, you need to burn everything. The grenade was not needed that night. 2 weeks later, the enemy still hadn't appeared. Now their main enemy is the jungle and the rain. While Robert was hobbling through the mud, his trophy case was missing. Lieutenant Larkin took it. Who is not going to give you a box, because according to the regulations, a conscript cannot own it. Due to bad weather and unsanitary conditions, Robert fell ill with enuresis. The doctor can't help him in any way, except for the advice not to get wet while you sleep. When the command realized that the enemy would not appear that way, the Marines were transferred to Pavuvu Island, 1944. Hooser reports that a lottery is being held in the battalion. The main prize is a ticket home. But none of Robert's friends won the ticket, and Robert's enuresis only intensified. The doctor says that there is a hospital nearby. They will definitely help him there. And since he doesn't say anything, it will count as a yes. A few days later, Robert asks the doctor to let him return to his friends. Otherwise, they may leave without him. Seeing his attitude, the doctor fulfills the request. After all, Robert had already cured the cut. In the USA, John works with Virginia Gray. John became a real star. A lot of guys want to join the army after hearing stories about the battles against the Japanese. His brother George came to visit him. He also decided to follow in his brother's footsteps and ask for advice on what to do in battle. John gives only one piece of advice: do not prove anything there and do not climb the breach. These guys don't live long. Solomon Islands, Pavovo, June 44. The 11th Company is being replenished with mortar units. They include Robert, Eugene and Bill. Their commander will be Captain Andrew Helden. Robert also returned to his friends, taking gifts in the form of books. Sid met his friend Eugene. They are from the same city and have known each other since childhood. He warns what awaits him on combat missions, but no matter what happens, he's unlikely to die. Pelilo Island, 1944. The Marines, along with the mortar men, are preparing for the assault. The assault boats will be covered by amphibious tanks. Eugene looks around. At this moment, the Japanese artillery opens fire. Being a believer, he asks God to save their lives. Some of the shells destroy the boats. The machine gunners return fire. The Marines suffer losses in the first second of the assault. The shock of the bullets literally pinned them to the ground. Eugene gets a concussion from a strong explosion. Robert's squad is in the second wave. He sees machine gun pillboxes, but the tank that was supposed to eliminate them explodes. Almost the entire 11th Company, where Eugene was a member, was killed. The remnants should join another battalion. Being the person with the highest rank, Elmu takes command. In this commotion, Robert notices Billy's newcomer, but there is no help for him. Reinforcements are approaching the Japanese. The mortar men should cover them with mines. When the battle is over, Shelton walks around collecting gold teeth. The bombing has not stopped. The command has decided to launch another attack and occupy the heights. That's the only way to shut up the Japanese mortars. The main problem is that the water supply is almost gone, and there is a bare runway ahead. When the US planes appeared in the sky, the Marines went on the attack, but the Japanese were already waiting for them. The number of Marines will decrease rapidly. The radio operator is trying his best to request air support, but no one is responding because the radio is broken. Robert has to run back and get a new radio. When he returned to the camp, the Japanese hit the aircraft with an accurate hit, blowing up the entire camp. The 11th Company, along with the mortar men, were able to reach the building. After throwing several mines, the Marines run into the building and knock out the Japanese. Robert was lucky, he survived, but received many shrapnel wounds. Already on the medical ship, he realizes that he is much luckier than the other guys. Intelligence believes that the main enemy forces are entrenched on the slopes of the heights. We need to launch another assault. No sooner had they reached the rocks than the Japanese opened fire. Captain Andrew warns that it will not be possible to dislodge them without excessive losses. There is no connection again. He will run to the battalion and explain the situation. Late at night, one of the fighters had an attack. He started shouting, giving away their position. To prevent the Japanese from finding them, the soldiers killed him. Shelton and Eugene were amazed, but on the other hand, it was better than if they had all been killed. The command decided to recall the Marines and send bombers to the heights. October 1944. After a lot of fighting, Eugene started smoking, although he had never taken a cigarette before. At night, one of the guys decided to go to the bathroom. The Japanese Lazuchiks took advantage of this and killed him. Elmo chastises the fighters. Each of them should understand that one should not relax, thinking that the enemy is not around. Otherwise, one of them will be next. On the way back to the camp, the 11th Company is ambushed. The mortar men lay out their mortars, but Eugene interrupts them. He thought he heard someone moving in the bunker. It saved their lives, because the Japanese were hiding there. Leiden throws a grenade into the ventilation. A Japanese man runs out. He manages to throw a grenade, severely wounding Bill. And even though their battalion suffered losses, they are still being sent to the peaks. On that day, Ulmu was mentally destroyed. Even the toughest fighters break down sooner or later. Moreover, when the fire breaks, everyone is informed that Captain Andrew has been killed. All the soldiers are lining up to say goodbye to the captain. October 44, according to Vova, one of this platoon was returned to the base. They were greeted by girls pouring juice. Johnny is tired of being a celebrity. Every day he reads the prepared speech and nothing else. He wants something new. And even though his service life has almost come to an end, he asks the man to at least send him to the troops as an instructor. And if that's what he really wants, Johnny becomes an instructor. The news that a celebrity has been sent to them spreads quickly among the girls. He noticed Sergeant Lena Ridgey among them. At first, all attempts to get to know each other were unsuccessful, but his pressure helped to win her heart, and they began dating. Let's send the squad that John trained to fight during the war. He decided to extend his contract and go with them. But he warns Lena Ridgey about this and suggests that she leave him if she is not ready to wait for him. But she promises that she will wait for only one condition, to get married. However, John is killed during the first assault. At this time, the 11th Division captures Okinawa and meets local residents, as well as Japanese prisoners. The soldiers do not miss the opportunity to mock them, but an intelligence officer stands up for the Japanese. All PALs are protected by the Women's Convention. If they don't calm down, they will be court-martialed. There are still Japanese forces on the island. They have to knock them out. The problem is that the Japanese have settled in villages and are hiding behind the residents. Due to such battles, there were heavy casualties among the residents. After a while, the entire island was cleared. There were rumors among the fighters that a new bomb had been dropped on the enemies, which wiped out an entire city while a new squadron of bombers was flying over them. After this bombing, the Japanese surrender. After the end of the war, Robert's first act was to visit Vera. It turns out that he did not send her letters because he did not believe that he would return home. She would have liked to receive them anyway. But Robert says that all the letters were destroyed by the water, and he won't be able to write any better. This is where the series comes to an end. Well, we will be glad to receive your like. We'll be back very soon.